American Express points just doubled in value thanks to a fresh loophole that just opened up. We're going to talk about what that loophole is, whether or not you should take advantage of it, and what the catch is that you should be looking out for before you take advantage of this brand new loophole to get extra value from your American Express credit card points. But before we get to that, if you want to learn how to earn the most American Express points or the most credit card points possible without having to change your spending patterns at all, then we built an app called PointWise, where we connect to your existing credit and debit cards, we analyze your spending history, and our algorithm compares that to the benefits of every card that's out there and everything you'd read about on these blogs like the Points Guy and NerdWallet and all of these YouTube channels, so that we can tell you exactly based on your spending which credit card you should get. And we also give you tools to help manage your credit cards and figure out when you should get your next one. So again, if you want to earn the most points, check out PointWise. I'll leave a link to that down in the description below. And now let's get back to that loophole that gives your Amex points twice as much value. So in order to understand this, you have to know one very basic thing about credit card points, and that is that they're worth most when you transfer it to different airline and hotel partners, right? If you redeem your Amex points in the Amex travel portal, you're usually only getting around 1 cent per point. And that's decent, but not really good value. If you transfer to partners, you can get more than 1 cent per point, and oftentimes you can get 2, 3, or even sometimes 4 cents per point or more if you transfer to transfer partners. And those are airlines and hotels that partner with American Express to allow you to transfer usually 1 American Express point into one of their airline miles or one of their hotel points. And each one of these different transfer partners has different point values, right? Different transfer partners are worth different amounts. The cool thing about these transfer partners actually is that if you transfer to an airline, for example, you can't just use those points on that airline. You can also book with all of the airlines that are in the same alliance as them. So even though American Express is the only credit card that's partnered with Delta to transfer your points one-to-one to Delta, you can transfer your Chase or Capital One points, for example, to Virgin, and Virgin is an alliance partner with Delta, so you can book your Delta flight with Virgin points that you move from a Chase or Capital One card, and a lot of the times that's actually cheaper than booking directly with Delta points. So the reason this is important is because the most valuable transfer partner is Alaska Airlines. And of all the credit cards out there, only Bilt is a transfer partner with Alaska. And what that means is that Bilt points are super, super valuable. But American Express points, which before Bilt were known as being the most valuable points for flight redemptions, were not nearly as valuable. And you might be thinking, oh, well, I don't fly in Alaska, but like I said, that doesn't really matter because you can use Alaska points to book on American, you can use Alaska points to book international flights for cheap, and so you can use Alaska points for all sorts of airlines that aren't Alaska. So Alaska points are super, super valuable. But like we said, American Express doesn't transfer to Alaska, and they still don't transfer to Alaska. So why in the world am I bringing up the fact that Alaska points are sometimes 50 to 100% more valuable than other points if American Express still doesn't transfer to Alaska? And that's a great question. But what if I told you that this loophole actually lets you transfer your American Express points to Alaska even though they aren't officially transfer partners? So here's what happened. Alaska Airlines just merged with Hawaiian Airlines. And the DOT, as a condition to approve this merger, said that Hawaiian points or Hawaiian miles have to be transferred at a 1-to-1 ratio to Alaska miles if someone wants them to. And so what that means is that if you have Alaska miles, or if you have Hawaiian miles, you can now transfer your Hawaiian miles, 1,000 Hawaiian miles to 1,000 Alaska miles. And American Express just so happens to be a transfer partner with Hawaiian. And so you can now transfer your American Express points to Hawaiian, and you can then transfer your Hawaiian points to Alaska, and now all of a sudden your American Express points are worth 50 to 100% more, all because of this DOT mandated merger condition. Okay, so the obvious question now is, should you take advantage of this? What are the risks? And so here's what I would say. There are a couple risks. The risks are that, number one, this doesn't last forever. If Hawaiian Airlines and the new combined entity with Alaska see that so many people are taking advantage of this to get more value than they were planning, they could very well just stop being a transfer partner with American Express. And alternatively, if they don't do that, and lots of people end up taking advantage of this, then it could be harder to find availability to actually redeem your points with Alaska once you make the transfer. So it could be that they make the transfer and you actually get your Alaska miles, and now you're just never able to use them because everyone took advantage of this, so there's no more supply left. It could also be that because a lot of people take advantage of this, Alaska just devalues their points and raises the price of all of their point redemptions. So I don't know which one of those things is actually going to happen, but I would be a little surprised if none of them happen, unless Amex just decides to bite the bullet and pay whatever Bilt is paying for Alaska points so that they can just continue having Alaska properly as a partnership now that Hawaiian's gone. But I don't see why American Express would do that if they didn't do it before, because having Hawaiian as a transfer partner serves a very different purpose than having Alaska as a transfer partner, if you see what I'm getting at. So I would bet that either Alaska is going to be devaluing their points, or it's going to be harder to find availability, or you're going to see this loophole shut down and Hawaiian is no longer going to be a partner or a transfer partner of American Express pretty shortly. So how would I approach this? Would I actually make the transfer? Again, this is a personal decision that does require some risk. It's not a risk-free transfer, right? Because of these things that we spoke about. But I will be transferring at least a small number of points, probably less than 100,000 points from American Express to Hawaiian and then to Alaska, just because I fly a few times a year on flights that I know Alaska is just the cheapest for. But I would not recommend that if you're hoping to use it on a specific route. If you're understanding that, okay, I fly from these places every single year and I see that Alaska is the cheapest way to book it, then even if the supply of Alaska redemptions goes down, right, you're likely to find a redemption on one of your flights. But if you're looking specifically to transfer for one booking and you're hoping to use your points, your new Alaska points for this specific booking, I don't know that I would quite put all your eggs in one basket and trust that you're actually going to be able to do that. So if you're wondering, are Alaska points actually that valuable for the routes that you usually travel? You can use a free award search tool like pointsyeah.com, for example, to go up and look up the flights that you're actually trying to fly and see if Alaska is the most affordable way to do that with points. But I would definitely check a site like that before I went and transferred all my points without thinking twice about it. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe and I'll get back to everyone in the comments below.